Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We don't need empty promises from the federal government that they have our back.
Growing frustration in Abbotsford as rising floodwaters impact hundreds of people in the Fraser Valley again, and more heavy rain is on the way. Plus,
there's so much rain, it's causing our floors to be wet in here, and it's causing us to be sick.
How the flooding is hitting some of Abbotsford's most vulnerable hard. And
no amount of money will bring comfort or bring radiant floors back.
Ordered to pay up. The main contractors behind Vancouver's massive Oakridge development project fined more than $1 million following the death of a worker at the site 2 years ago.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. Floodwater levels in Abbotsford have peaked, according to the city. Overnight Thursday, spillage from the Nooksack River in the U.S. continued traveling north. And as Kier Junos reports, several areas in the Sumas Prairie, including part of Highway 1, are now sitting underwater.
Everything's underwater, everything. And last night, it must have been, well, from Sumas Way to Whatcom Road, the highway was nothing but bumper to bumper. You just saw red lights. They were trying to get everyone off.
The city of Abbotsford says water levels are beginning to go down, but hundreds of properties are still affected. Floodwater crossed over Highway 1 on Thursday night, cutting off Abbotsford from the rest of the eastern Fraser Valley and forcing travel over Highway 7 instead.
The whole golf course is underwater right now. And my truck. That's my truck right there.
Two men who run a golf course just off the highway say they were rushing to move as much equipment as they could Thursday as the waters rose around them.
We were moving it to a different spot nearby that was a little bit higher. As we went to the spot, every couple pieces of machinery we moved, the water would rise like 5 to 6 inches every time we'd go back there.
Well, we're there too, and then there too, right? And we're right to the...
That's Carter's house right there.
Yeah. I understand the city has a plan, but I think it's time they lobby the feds a bit harder and the province say, listen, we got to do something about this, right?
The city's mayor at a press conference Friday morning wondering where the federal government is in any of this.
Enough is enough. We need action, and we need action now. We don't need empty promises from the federal government that they have our back. In fact, the federal government has not even reached out to me during this event. So I'm profoundly disappointed.
The Federal Ministry of Emergency Management said they talked to the Abbotsford mayor Friday afternoon. Since the devastating 2021 floods, Alex Mitchell with the Abbotsford Chamber of Commerce has been trying to get the federal government to understand the economic importance of Highway 1 and the Sumas Prairie.
Well, to date, they have not made the necessary investments. So clearly, there needs to be a greater level of understanding of how significant this area is to Canada's economic future, to our food security, and to our national security.
More rain is in the forecast this weekend, and flood warnings are still in place. Kier Junos, CBC News, Abbotsford.
The floods are also impacting Abbotsford's most vulnerable residents. Benit Breach now on what people are facing and how they're trying to stay warm and dry.
With a key artery through the Fraser Valley partly cut off, breaching floodwaters and more rain also creating barriers for some of Abbotsford's most vulnerable.
There's so much rain, it's causing our floors to be wet in here, and it's causing us to be sick.
So you're struggling to stay warm?
Yeah, all of us are, a bunch of us are, so we all work together, we try to. And then sometimes we get into arguments, but we have to realize that a lot of this is just us, Other than being on the street, it would be worse. We have power is shortage because there's generator problems, or also there's no gas.
We visited this vehicle encampment in Abbotsford. It's located by Whatcom Road, next to the section of highway that is flooded. Now, some here have decided to stay, others leaving.
I've packed up as best I can. My personal possessions are just that, possessions. What's going to happen is going to happen. I'm just going to roll the punches the best I can.
This advocate says community groups are checking in at the two main vehicle encampments here at Whatcom Road and Cole Road. But with the highway flooded, those living at Cole Road are harder to access, with a longer detour through Mission, BC. In Abbotsford, one measure to help those living outdoors is this emergency weather shelter.
The concern for people living outside is obviously them keeping dry. People's feet can get very bad in the cold weather. And one of the real concerns for people who live outside is that once your things get wet, they stay wet.
About 20 people are currently using the space. Capacity can increase to accommodate 50 beds.
Our response has improved with experience, but we're not interested in gaining more experience in responding to floods. So it's very frustrating.
Wagner says donations like socks and warm clothing can go a long way, especially as those unhoused face wetter days ahead. Benit Brach, CBC News, Abbotsford.
Meanwhile, drivers are being advised to avoid travel on Highway 7 between Mission and Agassiz as there is extreme traffic congestion due to flooding on the road. Highway 3 between Hope and Princeton remains closed following the heavy rainfall. Drive BC says flooding, fallen rock and debris have prompted the shutdown. The Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen has issued an evacuation order for 2 properties at risk of flooding. There is no word yet on when the highway will reopen. In Fernie, city officials say pressure on their wastewater system is beginning to ease. Heavy rain and snowmelt Thursday pushed flows to dangerous levels, forcing staff to discharge raw sewage directly into the Elk River. 85% of that discharge has now been closed off. A full shutdown is expected by Saturday. South of the border, floodwaters are continuing to rise in Washington state. Tens of thousands of residents are under evacuation orders in the western part of the state. U.S. Coast Guard air crews are rescuing people stranded on rooftops. Washington's governor has declared a state of emergency. Millions more people are under flood alerts, and many have already lost their homes.
Well, we're human and we have emotions, and I want to cry, but, you know, my house is underwater and I don't know what's left. It's a lot of money that we spent, and not only that, but a lot of time, and, you know, I'm glad that me and my family are safe.
This is a map of the 3 main rivers causing the flooding. Closest to the U.S.-Canada border is the Nooksack River, which has been spilling into the Fraser Valley. Further south, the Skagit River is putting the cities of Mount Vernon and Burlington at risk. And just north of Seattle, the Snohomish River has surpassed its highest level in 35 years. Darius Madavi joins us now with a first look at that weather. Darius?
This is a map of the atmospheric river that came a couple days ago, dumping all that rain and largely causing those rivers to overflow. It was the second event in 3 days, and now we have another one poised to hit as we head into this the end of this weekend, Sunday and Monday. Now, if we take a look here, this is the water vapor satellite imagery, and you can see a lot of that moisture feeding into largely the north and central coast. Central coast, northern parts of Vancouver Island, seeing a lot of heavy rain over the next 24 hours, in addition to what they've already seen. So keeping an eye on that. A lot of that moisture also breaking into the interior as snow, which is why we have so many watches and warnings in place. Let's start up in the far north. This is actually from a lot of Arctic air escaping south. A disrupted polar vortex is allowing a lot of those blasts of cold air over the next few weeks. As we see this wind chill value down around -60, that should come down after tomorrow morning. Same thing here, wind chill value down around -40 tomorrow morning, and then we see improvement. 10 to 20 centimeters of snow expected here as well in the Peace region, and then 10 to 30 centimeters of snow expected across parts of the central interior, inland central coast, and north coast inland. Large areas experiencing these winter storm and snowfall warnings. Janella, we'll have more later in the show.
All right, thanks so much, Darius. To some big breaking news in sports tonight, the Vancouver Canucks have made a blockbuster deal and traded their captain, Quinn Hughes, to the Minnesota Wild. In return, the Canucks get forwards Marco Rossi and Liam Ogren, rookie defenseman Zeev Buyum, and a first-round pick in next year's draft. Quinn Hughes will leave Vancouver as the franchise's all-time leader in points and assists by a defenseman. The prime contractor behind Vancouver's massive Oakridge development has been fined more than $1 million. As John Hernandez reports, the WorkSafe BC penalty comes nearly 2 years after a worker was killed at the site.
A multi-billion-dollar project shrouded in controversy. The builders behind it are officially ordered to pay up. Construction giant Ellis Dawn has been ordered to pay WorkSafe BC about $1.3 million for crane safety violations. The violations date back to February 2024. That's when a crane lost its load, dropping a fly table on top of worker Yuridia Flores, a mother of two from Mexico. WorkSafe BC fined Ellis Dawn more than $500,000 following an investigation, which found the firm failed to ensure safety inspections were done and failed to protect workers from danger. A subcontractor, New Way Concrete Forming, was also fined an additional $100,000.
No amount of money will bring comfort or bring Yuridia Flores back.
Vancouver City Councillor Pete Fry hopes the fines lead to safer working conditions at one of the biggest construction projects in the city's history.
It's a large site, but that shouldn't mean that safety and workers' rights are kind of taking a backseat to that.
Meanwhile, Ellis Dawn was also fined another $600,000 for crane violations at this construction site in Victoria. Earlier this year, a crane lost its load, dropping steel canopy pieces to the ground. No one was injured. Amid mounting safety concerns, BC's Labour Minister has pledged to fill regulatory gaps. A crane safety working group was established earlier this year.
I'm expecting that in the early part of the new year, we will have the results of their recommendations.
In a statement, Ellis Dawn said it's reviewing the fines. Meanwhile, WorkSafe BC says 2 more investigations into safety violations at the Oakridge site are ongoing, meaning more penalties could be on the way. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC's premier says his government is working on a plan to underwrite mortgages and loans for property owners and businesses in Richmond impacted by the Cowichan land claim decision. As Katie DeRosa reports, it's the first time the government has promised direct assistance to residents worried about how the decision affects their private property.
In a year-end interview with CBC News, Premier David Eby says the province is trying to ease the stress for homeowners and businesses in the area of Richmond impacted by the Cowichan land claim, through a plan to offer loan and mortgage guarantees through the Ministry of Finance.
One of the things that we're working on right now is a guarantee for the Richmond property owners that are in the specific area that the court awarded and declared that the titles were invalid, so that they're able to access borrowing, refinance their mortgages, or mortgage a property if someone's buying new, or access financing as a business. That guarantee will enable them to continue life a little more close to normal.
So does that mean that the BC government would almost be the backstop for their mortgages?
That's right, that we would support a financial institution that had anxiety about otherwise writing a mortgage to be able to have the confidence to write that mortgage for somebody.
More than 150 private properties, including homes and industrial sites, are impacted by the BC Supreme Court decision that awarded the Cowichan Nation Aboriginal title to more than 300 hectares of land in South Richmond. The decision has led to confusion and uncertainty over what it means for the validity of private property ownership. Eby says his team has been going door to door in the area, asking homeowners if they've been unable to secure mortgage renewals or property loans because of the court decision. While there are no concrete examples of that yet, many express fears they won't be able to sell their home in the future. Richmond Mayor Malcolm Brodie says if Eby follows through with the promise, it could ease some of the worry for his residents.
We really don't have the details of this, but it is a good step forward. It's a potentially very substantial commitment when you consider that the appeal could go on for a number of years.
The BC government is appealing the Cowichan decision and asking for a stay of proceedings. Many expect the case to reach Canada's highest court. BC Conservative finance critic says his party asked the Premier months ago if a financial backstop was on the table.
We brought this forward right after the Richmond town hall meeting, and it was kind of brushed off by the government.
The Premier did not give a timeline for when this financial backstop will come into effect. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
After the break, we'll check in with the community in the village of Lions Bay 1 year after 2 people died in a landslide. Stay with us. This Sunday marks 1 year since a deadly landslide claimed the lives of a Lions Bay couple. As Alana Kelly reports, the tragedy is still very raw for the community, and there are still many unanswered questions.
1 year ago, Barbara and David Enns were killed. A massive landslide sent rocks, trees, and mud crashing through their home near Lions Bay.
We could feel it from the floor of the house, the vibration literally in our bones.
Their neighbor was one of the first people to call for help.
The sound and the vibration was really scary. It's really sad, especially the whole circumstances of.
It's hard to show just how large this landslide was. As you can see behind me, there is still debris here a year later, and this is just a small section of what came down.
I don't think we were prepared for what happened a year ago and the loss of a family which was a pillar of this community, the Enns family.
A year later, and it's still not clear exactly what happened.
There is a lot of speculation on what was happening above.
The Enns children and two neighbors launched a lawsuit against neighbor Stephen Vestergaard, the village of Lions Bay, and the BC government. It claims the illegal construction of roads and a reservoir above the Enns home on Crown land caused or contributed to the slide. Vestergaard filed a response stating he had obtained permits and denies there is any evidence that he caused, contributed, or otherwise had responsibility for the debris flow. The province said the debris flow was caused by natural events, and it was an act of God, adding it was not responsible for the work done. None of these claims have been proven in court. A BC civil litigation lawyer says this will be a complicated case.
If you bring something onto your land that could cause a hazard, and then that hazard ultimately materializes, you are liable, typically whether you were negligent or not. And so one of the issues in this case is going to be whether that rule applies, whether it applies to the individual who created these works on Crown land, whether it applies to the province.
The RCMP confirms with CBC News that the fatal slide is still being investigated. A report and study of the area is expected to be released soon. But this BC expert believes the slide started where trees had been cleared.
So it initiated right where the clearing was, where the water intake valve was being placed and where there'd been some work done in the creek. The wind caused trees to rock, and that caused a little failure. And that was enough to start a chain reaction where that small slide translated into a very large debris flow.
This isn't the first fatal landslide in the area. Back in February 1983, a mudslide tore through the village, claiming 2 lives and destroying several homes.
If you're in an area where there's a creek on a steep slope close to your house, you may want to get a geotechnical evaluation done.
The Enns were very well known in this tight-knit community of just 1,500 people.
The Enns family was part of the trailblazers and the generation that really built this village. And so there was many people that were touched by that unfortunate event and are still dealing with it today.
We asked the province if their investigation has concluded, if it's ongoing, or if any changes were recommended. It says they cannot comment further as this matter is before the courts. Alana Kelly, CBC News, Lions Bay.
The province is suing e-cigarette giant Juul and has filed a notice of claim with the BC Supreme Court. It says the claim falls under BC's new Vaping Product Damages and Healthcare Costs Recovery Act. The Attorney General's office says it aims to hold Juul accountable for its role in fueling youth addiction. In a statement to CBC News, Juul says its mission is to transition smokers away from combustible cigarette use and has followed BC's flavor, marketing, and labeling restrictions. The view from atop Apex Mountain, where skiers took to the hills for the first time today. Only a few runs are open, but with more snow, could more open up? Darius has your weekend forecast next. A Vancouver Island nonprofit is creating prosthetic limbs for Palestinian amputees. The Victoria Hand Project says their team in Cairo is treating people for upper limb loss. Take a look.
The Hand Project is a Canadian charity, and what we do is we focus on helping people throughout the world gain access to upper limb prosthetic care. We use a variety of things, primarily 3D printing.
So these are the arms that are made by our partners around the world, including in Cairo for the Palestinian patients. And we have standard hand models, large and small, left and right, that can be made directly in the clinics where they're fitted.
A lot of people have reached out and said, hey, are you able to provide your services to help Palestinians who've lost limbs? I think the whole world knows about what's been happening. There's been a lot of reported cases of limb loss. What we're doing right now in Cairo, we're hoping people from Gaza who've been injured, who've lost limbs, are going to be able to come to Cairo and get treated for upper limb loss. We gathered a team there that would be able to help, and then I was able to travel in November and work with that team, and together we fit a total of 6 people, and 3 of those people were Palestinians injured from the conflict. They had lost their limb approximately 2 years ago, so they had actually a good amount of healing time, and the prosthesis worked quite well with them. One of them was a transradial below the elbow, quite short, and we provide a kind of a custom fitting suspension socket, and then onto that goes the main socket and then the terminal device. He was very, very happy with that. The other patients had above elbow devices, and so those kind of go up and over the shoulder. It's very rewarding. It's why we do this. It's why the whole Victoria Hand team does what we do. We all have interactions with patients, and there's nothing better than feeling like we're getting someone back to a more or less normal life.
The first segment of a proposed high-speed rail project has been announced. It will run between Montreal and Ottawa.
This segment represents a unique opportunity to connect 2 provinces and quickly generate benefits for travelers, communities, and the economy.
Construction is set to begin in 2029 and will produce an estimated 50,000 jobs in steel, concrete, electrical, and digital work. Once completed, the full line will run from Toronto to Quebec City with trains that could travel up to 300 kilometers per hour. World Cup tickets went on sale Thursday, and many fans are crying foul over the sky-high prices of tickets. They're even accusing the sport's governing body of, quote, a monumental betrayal. Philip Lee Shannock has the story.
Let me just pull. Canadian soccer fans who scored FIFA World Cup tickets say you'd better be fast on your phone and be ready to shell out a lot of cash.
The tickets, it did cost approximately $2,500 each, but honestly, you're paying for the experience, right? Something that, might not happen again in Toronto in our lifetime, right?
For the first time, FIFA has allowed dynamic pricing for tickets to maximize profits. It means tickets for the opening World Cup match in Toronto start at $1,300 and go up to $3,000 each. A small percentage of tickets are supposed to be set aside for committed soccer fans. But this member of the Voyageurs, a group of longtime supporters of Team Canada, still ended up paying almost $2,000 per ticket, making a once-in-a-lifetime event out of reach for many.
I think they should be excited, but basically the pricing just is going to exclude a vast majority of those people that want to go to this event.
This sports analyst says the higher ticket prices will draw criticism, but it's in line with major concerts and sporting events like the Blue Jays World Series run.
So these World Cup pricing is kind of in line with what Torontonians and to a lesser extent people in Vancouver are already used to paying. It is just big market, big event pricing, and it's unfortunate. It means it's going to keep out real fans.
He says prices will fluctuate and expects many games to be in the realm of affordability for some. $300 a ticket once resales on FIFA's exchange marketplace open in mid-December. Still, that might not be enough to tempt some fans. According to a recent Angus Reid survey, 7 in 10 Canadians said World Cup prices are too expensive, and half said if they were given tickets for free, they would sell them. Phil Tishanok, CBC News, Toronto.
An early Christmas gift for Mark Carney's Liberal government, courtesy of Michael Maw. The former Conservative MP crossed the floor to join the Liberals on Thursday. It was a jaw-dropper because Maw was at the Conservatives' holiday party the day before he jumped ship. Here's the CBC's Ashley Burke on what happened behind the scenes.
So let's give a warm welcome to our newest member of the Liberal Party.
A big move that took the Conservatives by surprise. MP Michael Maw joining the Liberals, leaving his party behind.
You are going to have a much better time spending Christmas with us than Christmas with the Cranks.
The Liberals now only one seat away from a majority government.
We welcomed over 300,001 new Liberals. The year's not over. Year's not over. That's all I'm saying.
Some Liberal ministers now claim there are more disgruntled Conservatives that could defect too.
You've seen 2 to date. There are others, that is for sure. Others exist.
I think there's some that will do some soul searching during the vacation.
Chris Dongermaw crossed the floor in November saying he disagreed with the Conservatives' leadership style. Matt Genereux abruptly announced his resignation. Now Maw has left too.
It's frustrating. It's sad. I think it undermines a healthy culture here because you want to believe you can trust people, and this makes you second guess that.
Conservatives are taking aim at Maw for going to their Christmas party on Wednesday, taking a photo with his family and leader Pierre Poilievre, and accepting a secret Santa gift from a fellow MP, but not giving one out himself.
There's like kind of a dishonorable aspect to this. Like the guy went from doing the conga line at our Conservative Christmas party to literally 24 hours later leaving our party. Also leaving me without a secret Santa gift, by the way, just as a note.
Mr. Ma.
Sources say after Ma voted with the Conservatives in the House yesterday, he met with the Prime Minister and the minister who helped bring him over, who he became friends with because they have neighboring ridings. Not long after that meeting, the Liberals announced they had gained another seat. Now the Conservative MP who gave Ma that secret Santa gift says he wants his Amazon Fire Stick back. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Democratic lawmakers in the U.S. released more photos from the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, calling again to end what they called a White House cover-up. Paul Hunter reports.
To be clear, the photos, and there are dozens of them, do not show any wrongdoing by anyone. Now released by Democrats who say there's more to come.
But I think, again, these pictures, some of these photos are really disturbing.
Epstein's in a lot of the photos seen here in a bathtub. All of the photos from the Epstein estate given to Democrat and Republican lawmakers investigating Epstein's crimes and any government handling of the case. There's no context given for any of them, and a lot seem extremely mundane, bland-looking rooms of some sort, even a jar of Q-tips. Say those who've accused Epstein of sexually abusing them for years, don't be fooled.
These images can be really horrific. I was talking to a survivor earlier who said, to the rest of the world, that just looks like a room. But to me, that's the phone that I picked up to call for help.
Also seen fresh images of well-known people with Epstein. Billionaire entrepreneur Richard Branson, filmmaker Woody Allen, former President Bill Clinton. And here's former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Yes, U.S. President Donald Trump is seen here with 6 women, their faces blacked out by Democrats. And here's another. One-time Trump advisor Steve Bannon appears multiple times, here with Epstein, here with Woody Allen, here with activist and professor Noam Chomsky. Photos of sex toys are among those released today, and this gag condom depicting the U.S. president. Epstein, who was found dead in a New York jail cell 6 years ago awaiting a sex trafficking trial, has sparked endless speculation ever since, and a thorny problem for Trump. The two once good friends, Trump has taken heat for earlier calling for all that's known of Epstein to be made public, then, as president, seeming to resist it. says Trump of the new photos.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I mean, everybody knew this man. He was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
After the break, we return to our top story, flooding in the Fraser Valley. Coming up, we'll hear from officials and residents and learn more about what's in store for the region.
Hey, I'm Rohith Joseph. Vibin' is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond. Stream Vibin' on CBC Listen.
The city of Abbotsford remains under a state of emergency as swollen creeks and rivers threaten even more flooding across the Fraser Valley. More than 450 homes, farms, and businesses are under evacuation orders, and roughly 1,700 others are on standby. As Yasmin Renea reports, now the community is bracing for even more rain.
In BC's Fraser Valley, ordinary activities are meeting extraordinary conditions.
This is Mother Nature telling us that they want it back as a lake.
Sumas Prairie was a lake before it was drained about 100 years ago. Parts of it again submerged after the Nooksack River in Washington state spilled over its banks, shutting down highways and schools, placing hundreds under evacuation orders and alerts.
So many people's lives have been uprooted, leaving your home, your farm, your business, worrying about what you left behind. It's an incredible challenge.
For farms ravaged by catastrophic flooding 4 years ago, it's devastating déjà vu.
We've lost a couple poultry barns overnight. Additional birds are in the process of being moved. And anytime a farmer loses livestock, it's heartbreaking.
The mayor of Abbotsford, one of the hardest hit areas, taking aim at Ottawa over the lack of federal investment in flood mitigation infrastructure.
We don't need empty promises from the federal government that they have our back. In fact, the federal government has not even reached out to me during this event.
After those comments, the federal emergency management minister did call him, saying Ottawa is ready to offer assistance. The floodwaters from the U.S. were starting to recede Friday, but now another atmospheric river is poised to drench the West Coast Sunday and Monday.
This coming week could be seeing rainfall all the way from the Alaska Panhandle down to California. So it's a very significant weather pattern.
Those already overwhelmed, hoping this time the rain shows mercy. Yasmin Ranea, CBC News, Vancouver.
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Give today to bring more progress and possibilities to patients and their families. Your donation changes everything.
Doris Madavi is back with another look at our weather, and I hear it's going to be pretty chilly for some areas of the province, Darius.
That's right. Wind chill values down close to -60 tomorrow morning in parts of the Peace region, parts of the far north, and -40 in parts of the Peace region. Now, this is not just confined to BC. The polar jet stream has dipped down far enough that we're seeing Arctic air spill out into much of Canada. And in fact, if we zoom in to Yukon here, a number of very cold temperatures. I know a lot of folks probably don't have a frame of reference for how cold it usually is in the Yukon in December, but we don't usually see temperatures this low. This is very abnormal. -53 degrees in parts of Yukon. That hasn't happened in at least 30 years, or almost exactly 30 years. The last time it got that cold this early was December 5th, 1995. Very cold temperatures because the polar vortex is disrupted. That is having a knock-on effect on the polar jet stream down below. So you can see the polar vortex here splitting into two different lobes. That is allowing all that Arctic air to spill out, and we'll likely continue to see a few more blasts of that Arctic air in the weeks ahead, with colder temperatures also coming to more southern parts of BC once we get through the middle of next week. But in the meantime, freezing levels remain high because of all the water and the moisture and the warm air coming from that atmospheric river event. This is the one that came through on Wednesday. This is an image from NASA. Here is what we're looking at over the next few days. So this is Sunday now. You can see that plume of moisture reaching Vancouver and Washington state, and then continuing to dip further and further south. One of the big factors that we're wondering about at this point is how quickly that atmospheric river is going to continue to move south. If it lingers for too long on parts of the Fraser Valley and Washington state, just south of the border, we're going to start to see really nasty flooding once again. But if it dips down fast enough, we likely won't see that intensive flooding that we have over the past couple days, and we won't see a repeat of the 2021 event, more than likely. The Forecast Center is saying pretty much the same thing. They're keeping a close eye on those rainfall rates, where most of the rain, the heaviest rain, is expected to land, because if it does stay north of, mostly in the North Shore Mountains, that would be good news for the Fraser Valley. But because of how high those rainfall totals are expected to be, we do have a risk of flooding pretty much anywhere it lands, but that would be much more localized than what we're expecting to see in the Fraser Valley. Again, lots of snow breaking into the interior. That's why we have all those snowfall warnings and winter storm warnings in place. Expect to see very high snowfall totals in many areas, with rainfall totals, I should say. 125 millimeters possible, up to 150 possible even for parts of the lower mainland as we watch that atmospheric river land. A few places could get freezing rain tomorrow in parts of the interior and up on the north coast. And here's our 5-day forecast, Janelle, with some heavy rain on the way starting Saturday afternoon and continuing at times Sunday and Monday.
Yes, a good reminder to stay safe on those roads. Thanks so much, Darius.
Thank you.
Sunday evening will mark the start of Hanukkah. This 8-day Jewish holiday is a celebration of light, and it comes with traditions of candle lighting, food, and gift giving. Joining me now to talk about all things Hanukkah is Rabbi Susie Tendler. She leads the congregation at Beth Tikva, a synagogue in Richmond. Rabbi Tendler, thanks for joining us. And firstly, how are you getting set up for the upcoming Hanukkah holiday? I believe you have some menorahs close by.
I do. Thank you so much for having me. We do. We set up by making sure we have our candles ready, taking out our dreidels, getting whatever we're going to do for gelt, which is traditionally actually money, but has become in North America chocolate coins that people cherish, potatoes, oil, all of the stuff ready to celebrate oil and light. So my children like to celebrate also by decorating the house. It is not a tradition I grew up with, but in today's world, wanting to ensure that our children really feel like they can proudly express who they are, they always have fun, and it elevates the season for us.
And so what are some of your most cherished traditions when it comes to Hanukkah?
Sure, I can think throughout my childhood. I have memories like sprinkled in there, and giving birth on the 5th day of Hanukkah one year, I guess 14 years ago. But I would say the moment that I look forward to the most each year is really every night, the lighting of the candles. In our family, we all come together and each of us lights our own menorah. And we're all around the table, which is where we do it because we have a big glass window in front. And I think there's so much that draws our attention away from family every night between extracurricular activities and meetings and all of the things that, really fill our days and nights. To have 8 days in a row consecutively, I guess that's redundant, to come together and look in at one another and have this extra light in our house. It's just an opportunity to breathe and to feel joy just for being together, because that feels so rare in today's world.
And finally, very briefly, families who are interfaith, who might have Jewish and Christian backgrounds, how should they navigate the two holidays?
Every family is different in who they are and what it is that they want and what values they are. I would say that for most families who do choose one dominant tradition in their home, often they celebrate that one in the home and will go to the other family to celebrate the other holiday. I've always taught that it is our job as Jews to elevate people in this world, and certainly family traditions of every kind would be diminished if we weren't all celebrating. So sending the message of and being clear about what it is you're celebrating in the home, even if you're choosing both, to share and articulate both and what each tradition means to you. But for those going out of the home, to express, look, this is the tradition of these relatives of ours. And of course, we have to be there to help elevate and not diminish, because that's really not only what I feel like is our role in the world, but also I think the season as well for everyone, right? To elevate joy and light at the darkest time of the year. Themes that I think are relevant for all of society today.
Now, Rabbi Tendler, as you prepare for the first night of Hanukkah on Sunday, what is on the menu for that first meal?
Of course, potato latkes. Who can go wrong with a potato latke? So we have a day full of latkes right now. My children actually just brought me apple cinnamon donuts that we're testing out already. Those are the traditional things. There's Hanukkah cookies being made on Sunday as well and decorated. And anything fried, really, but in our house it's latkes, potato pancakes.
Sounds delicious. Thank you so much, Rabbi Tendler, and a very happy Hanukkah to you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
A weeks-long mission to detangle a young sea lion near Vancouver Island, finally a success. We'll tell you what crews are saying about these kinds of entanglements next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
December 5th kicked off CBC's Make the Season Kind, supporting food banks in British Columbia. Thank you to all who have already donated generously and made a difference. The charity drive continues until December 31st. To find out more, head to cbc.ca/kindbc. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter and keep connected with us.
Some good news off the coast of Vancouver Island, where crews were able to rescue an entangled sea lion in Cowichan Bay yesterday. It was part of a week-long operation to locate, dart, and free the animal, but officials say they are worried these kinds of entanglements are becoming all too common.
A whole lot of things have to align in order for us to actually get to disentangle an animal like that. Last week, the whole team went out and spent 2 days looking for her. She wasn't around. Boats were out of the water. Drone guy was driving home. We were packed up on the road, and all of a sudden I got the call from Cowichan Tribal Monitoring, and they saw the animal. Just happened to just pop up on the docks. Everybody just turned right around, boats back in the water, and managed to deliver a dart and then locate the animal after it was darted and follow it while it was becoming sedate, and got to the animal, successfully disentangled and reversed the anesthetic, and we have a successful mission.
This is an international problem, and there's work going on around the world how to make those more biodegradable, because once a sea lion gets a packing band around the neck, it doesn't degrade, and it's just it eats into the animal's neck, and it's awful. If animals don't get entangled, then there's no need to save their lives.
Hundreds of skiers will be vying for a spot this weekend on Team Canada to compete at the 2026 Olympic Games in Italy. There are 4 spots for men and 6 for women. And as Jacqueline Gelano reports, the official site was changed at the last minute to BC's interior.
Elite athletes from across Canada are going to be competing here at Sovereign Lake Cross Country Ski Club, just outside of Vernon, British Columbia, for a spot at the Olympic team. The catch? The club had only 10 days to prepare. The Olympic trials were scheduled to be held in Prince George, but the event was cancelled due to a lack of snow.
I guess the first thing for us was just feeling disappointed for the original host club, Prince George, because it's a couple of years of work to prepare for an event of this caliber.
Then, the Vernon Area Club sprang into action.
We got geared up and turned to our amazing team of volunteers, our great grooming staff and our operational staff, and everybody banded together.
He says within hours, all volunteer slots were filled. Sovereign Lake has hosted high-profile events before, as recently as last weekend, but never on such a short timeline. It's required volunteers to work day and night leading up to the trials. While the venue change has been tough for volunteers, athletes are used to unpredictability.
Like with ski racing, snow is a big thing, and if you don't have snow at one venue, you got to go to another. So we're trying to make sure it's smooth and thin.
She says it's the job of coaches to optimize what they can.
We always tell them, worry about what's in your control and don't worry about what's not in your control.
Sovereign Lake Nordic Club itself has several athletes competing at the trials.
I'm a local here, so I graduated from Seton, and I'm going to try for the Olympics this year.
He's grateful to be home in the days before he tries to clinch one of the coveted spots.
Super happy, sleep in my own bed, and just consistent snow.
It's been no easy feat for the volunteers here at Sovereign Lake to get the trails ready for the Olympic trials. After receiving more than 20 centimeters of snow last night, the groomers were out at 1 in the morning. And I don't know much about snow conditions, but I can say that the conditions feel fast. Jacqueline Gelano, CBC News, Sovereign Lake.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on our free CBC Gem app, as well as on YouTube and on our website at cbc.ca/BC. I'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock right after the National. Have a great night.